And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the first ever episode of Redmond's podcast. This is something that I've wanted to do for a good while now, a good couple months. Well, without any further ado, let's just get cracking on this thing. So I thought that when I wanted to start these podcasts that I was thinking to myself, I really want to make these podcasts, but I don't really know what I want them to be about. And I decided that I would just use this first one to just kind of introduce myself and kind of explain my story. And it's pretty much going to be, I'd say about, I'll try to keep it to about maybe half an hour an episode, 20 minutes, something like that. So I'll go ahead and just introduce myself. My name is Kirk Redmond, and I was born in Falkirk, Scotland. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I was born in Falkirk, Scotland, and I moved to Glasgow, Scotland at a very young age. That's where I spent the first half of my life, growing up there. Made the transition to Texas when I was almost 10 years old, and spent the last 13 years, going on 14 years here. So it's been a pretty crazy life. But go ahead and just kind of jump back a little bit, back into the Scotland part, and just kind of explain my upbringing, I guess. So I grew up in Glasgow, Scotland. My first memories that I can remember were running around in my nanny and pappy's backyard. And my nanny and pappy have this big shed in their backyard, which they kept all the toys and stuff like that. And see, back when I was a kid in Scotland, either we didn't have all these bugs that we do in Texas, or I just didn't care to notice them. Because I would just run in that shed and grab all the toys and not be worried about spiders or anything like that. So I was just so excited to play with all the toys. So I would grab, one of the things I would grab was a skateboard, and I wouldn't even skateboard on it. I would just do that thing that mechanics do where they lie on their stomach or their back and scoot around on it. That was pretty much the extent of my skateboarding skills. There was this little scooter that I had. Man, I loved this thing. Now this scooter, see, I couldn't ride a bike as a kid. A lot of American kids, they go do stuff. They ride four-wheelers, they have bikes, some of them have dirt bikes, go-karts, all that stuff. I never did that as a kid. It's just not one of the things that kids do over there. Now, most of them ride bikes and stuff, but, it's just one of those things where it's just different over there, and, you just kind of do stuff differently. That's just basically the best way to describe it. Different country, different upbringing, So I never did any of that stuff with the go-karts and the, So, I had a little scooter. It was pretty big. It wasn't like a Razor scooter. Now, I did have one of those, but I liked the big scooter better. And it had these big handlebars on it, like a bike. And it had big tires, too. Pretty big tires for someone my size as a kid. And it had this big platform on it. It was like a deluxe ultra scooter. And my pappy, every Friday or every other Friday, when I would get out of school, I would go home, I would pack some stuff, and my mom and myself would go down to my nanny and pappy's house, and I would usually spend the weekend there, or at least Friday night. So when I would wake up in the morning on Saturday, my nanny would start cooking breakfast. She would always pour me a glass of orange juice or apple juice. Then my pappy would give me 2-pound coins, and I would go into the back. I would grab my scooter, and I would take it around the gate to the front, and I would ride my scooter down to the little corner store. And let me back up a little bit. I had this jacket that I kept there. It was a black, like, body warmer, puffy jacket, and it had a big Nike check on the front of it. So, sponsored by Nike. No, I'm just kidding. But I had this big black jacket, and it had a secret pocket on the inside of it. You know, that when you're a kid, stuff like that's awesome. You know what I mean? So I had a secret pocket, and you know, it was just my secret, and it was just my pappy's secret. You know, we kept it a secret between us. And he'd give me the 2 pounds. And I would open up the zipper on the secret pocket, and I'd put the pounds in there and zip it up, and I'd be like, all right, Pappy, I got you. It's in the secret pocket. And he's like, all right, man, all right. So I'd go and ride my scooter down to the store. And the guy that ran the store knew me all too well because he had the stuff there waiting for me. It was a morning newspaper, and it was a packet of soft mints. Now, soft mints over there are like Mentos in the U.S. They're just called soft mints over there back home. And dare I say, they're better than Mentos. Yeah, he always had it set out to the side because I came at the same time every day. It was always around 9 o'clock. And I would get there, and he'd have it waiting for me. And he'd be like, good morning, my friend. I'd be like, good morning. And I would open up before I walk in the store, I would open up the secret pocket and take out the coins. And I'd walk in there with the coins in my hand. He'd be like, good morning. I'd be like, good morning. And then I would hand him the 2-pound coins. I'd be like, there you go, man. And he'd hand it to me, and I would take them outside, put them in the secret pocket, make sure nobody saw me. Because, you know, it's a secret pocket. And just ride home, and by the time I would ride to the store, grab the newspaper and my pack of soft mints, that was my payment for my job. He'd be like, yeah, take a pound, get you a pack of soft mints, kid. So that would be my pay for riding down there and getting this paper for him. And I would ride home, and by the time I would ride home, my nanny would have breakfast ready, and I would ride home, and my pappy would have his paper and his coffee, his breakfast. We'd all have breakfast, and yeah, you know, it was just like a really cool thing that I would do all the time. And you know, I did that a lot, you know, like I said, every week or every other week. That was a weekly thing I did. And I would, you know, head back home. Now, home for me as a kid, for the most part, was Flat 142, Castle Milk Road. Now, the reason I don't mind saying that is because it doesn't exist anymore. But where I used to live, there were these big apartment complexes. Well, it was one apartment complex, but it had a bunch of, I think it was like maybe 5 or 6 of these giant towers, you know, that were just full of apartments. And they're called flats back home. Now, these flats were about 18 stories tall, with about, I want to say, 6 apartments on each floor. So these could fit a lot of people. And what I would do is, see, the best thing about where they were was because they were right next to the school that I would go to, primary school. So I actually ended up being pretty independent as a small child. Because I remember, 7, 8, 9 years old, I would get myself up in the morning. I would dress myself for school. We had a uniform. I would feed the cats. We had a couple cats in our apartment. Well, in our flat. Sorry, I've been in America for a long time. And after I'd feed the cats, I would go give my mom a kiss goodbye. And I would head out. And I'd make sure that when I left, I would wake my mom up. I wouldn't just give her a kiss goodbye. I'd have to wake her up because she would have to lock the door behind me when I left. So I'd wake her up, would wake her up enough, and I'd be like, "Love you, Mom, heading out to school," and I'd give her a kiss goodbye. And I would I'd take the elevator down, and keep in mind, we're on the 14th floor. So we're pretty high up. It's pretty intense now that I think about it. I don't think I would live that high up as an adult. Because I've developed a fear of heights, which is ridiculous considering I just basically lived on heights when I was a kid. But anyways, I would take the elevator down, and I could walk about maybe 5 or 10 minutes to the school. Like, I'm trying to picture it for all you guys because it is a podcast. So it would be, I wouldn't say just a couple 100 feet from my apartment to the school itself. Literally right next to it. The equivalent of across the street, basically. So I would walk myself to school, as would a lot of kids, because the complex was, right across the street from the school, so a lot of kids would just walk themselves to school in the morning. It's just a thing, it's just a thing that we did. And man, I really loved that primary school. Like, I really enjoyed going to school as a kid, because we just did cool stuff all the time. Except in grammar class. I hated grammar class because all we did was work out of the book, and I hated that. But on Tuesdays, we would go swimming, that was like my favorite, favorite of all time was when we would go swimming. It's like Tuesday, I would wake up, I'd be all excited, I'd pack my swim stuff. Now I know you're saying, "Kirk, how would you go swimming every Tuesday? It's like cold as balls over there in the UK." Well, the thing is, in the UK, is we have indoor swimming pools. Now, I'm sure pretty much everyone has heard of that, but in case that you haven't, indoor swimming pools are the best ever. Because you don't have to worry about bugs, for one, getting in the pool. You don't have to worry about getting a sunburn. And they control the air in there so that it is pleasant to get in and out of the pool at will and it not be an intense experience. Now, swimming outside is fun too, but if I had a choice, I would swim inside all day. That's just my personal preference. But now, we wouldn't just go swimming. Let me point that out. We would go and take lessons, and we would we would learn how to swim. We'd learn how to hold our breath. We'd learn how to float on our backs. We'd learn how to doggy paddle. We'd learn how to, do the breaststroke and stuff like that. But that was only half the time. So we would take lessons half the time, and then the other half of the time it was just have fun, be kids, be happy type deal. It was amazing. I loved Tuesdays. And then Wednesday my mom had enrolled me in, I want to say it was Taekwondo or karate. I think it was Taekwondo. She enrolled me in the kids class, obviously, not the adult class. And I would take my Taekwondo class every Wednesday after school. So Monday, Thursday would be regular days. Tuesday would be swimming day. Wednesday would be Taekwondo day. Friday would be going to Nanny's house day. So I had like a pretty awesome childhood because that was a thing every week for me, for the most part. But when you're doing stuff every day as a kid, it makes your childhood a lot more fun because you're not just going to school, coming home, and there's nothing to do. That's like a thing in America that I don't know. You have to have like a lot of money for kids to like do stuff. And for adults to do stuff too. Like, and I don't know, there's just something about Texas that I don't like, that there's not. It just has a whole different atmosphere to it and a whole different feel. That there's like, and maybe it's just Texas, or maybe it's just my part of Texas that I'm living in. But there's, the entertainment around here sucks. Like, like a nice movie theater is like a big plus here. That's something people get excited about when there's a nice movie theater. There's stuff like, now we do have one like thing here that's pretty cool. You have to go out of town for it because I live in one of those towns that has nothing. You have to go out of town to do the fun stuff. But there's this thing called Main Event, and it's got like everything in it. It's got like a full arcade. It's got bowling. It's got it's got a bar. It's got a restaurant. It's got laser tag. It's got like just all this cool stuff. Now we did build up a place. It's a bowling alley. This company bought out the Granbury Lanes. Is what it was called, and they bought it out and put up their company, which was called Pins. That place rocks because it focuses on the bowling, right? But it does have a bar on the side with a couple of pool tables, and on the other side it's got an arcade for the kids. So it's split into like half and half, where it's like bowling lanes all around, right? But on this it's like an adult side and a kid side, or like a family side. You know what I mean? So like if you're just going there with the guys or something, or the girls, and you want to enjoy some alcohol and bowl and just have a good time and be adults, that's awesome. Like there's a whole side of the alley for that. And then the other side is like for the family, like for the, taking grandparents, taking the grandkids, whatever. There's this whole arcade that's got all these games in it that are like super awesome. And you can bowl, kids can play the arcade games, kids can come over and bowl. It's like good times. Bowling Alley rocks. So shout out to Pins, not a sponsor. Just gotta say that, because all of my audience will assume, both of you guys will assume that I'm being sponsored by Pins. Oh man. So, but yeah, but going back to my childhood, that was basically my routine as a kid. That's what I would get up to. Just go to school, go to swimming, do this, do that. No, my teachers there were they were all right. They were all right. The ones in my earlier years there were terrible, but the ones after that were pretty good. I don't really remember any teachers, honestly, that were good to me. which is kind of sad. But I remember when I left to come to America, my teacher bought this book, and it was just like a notebook, but everyone had signed the book like on a different page. Everyone had wrote me a little note in there and signed it, like good luck in America kind of thing. And she handed the book to me. I'll never forget this. It was my last day of school. She handed the book to me, and she said, "Kirk, you're going to do great things in America. We all love you. Good luck. Do great things." And she gave me a big hug. And she said, "Don't forget us when you're all successful, like when you're all big and awesome." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "I won't forget you guys." Yeah, that was pretty much my childhood. I'd go see my nanny and pappy all the time, do fun stuff at school, and one day I found out that I was coming to America, and I will cover that in the next episode of Redmond's podcast. So, I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I hope that I wasn't boring you to death. And, I haven't shared my story like this, my origins, so to speak. I haven't really shared that with anyone that's not, like, super duper close to me. So I hope that that this podcast can kind of give you a little insight into where I came from and what life was like for me as a kid. I guess that's it. And I'll go ahead and do a little plug here for myself, because I have no shame. I primarily make vlogs on YouTube. Just look up Redmond's Vlogs. I want to say that it was youtube.com/user/Redmond's Vlogs, but that's not a thing anymore. Now it's, as Santoro put it on his podcast, it's YouTube/C/blah, because they thought that, I don't know, they just thought that a string of random characters would help everyone find their favorite channels. So just look up Redmond's Vlogs on YouTube, and you'll see all my stuff. I've got a really exciting vlog coming up for vlog 100. Yep, there is 100 of those things now. Can't believe it. But just check it out if you feel like just watching a guy live his life and recording it along the way. And I will see you guys next time. I don't know if I'm going to make this like a weekly thing, or I don't know. Still kind of figuring it out. I just went down to the store, bought a cheap-ass microphone, and here we are. So I will catch you guys on the next podcast. So you guys be safe, be well, and until next time.